Tim Fielder is an illustrator, concept artist, author, and visual Afro-Futurist who has worked as a visual development artist for companies such as Marvel Comics, TriStar Pictures, and Ubisoft Entertainment. While working on a variety of projects, Tim made time to create a new graphic novel called Infinitum, published by HarperCollins. This epic Afro-Futurist experience about an immortal black man addresses issues of racism, classism, gender inequality, war, and intergalactic travel. Join us today as we sit down with our very special guest, Tim Fielder, for a roundtable conversation covering his early beginnings and career as a visual Afro-Futurist and author. Welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. Today, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mia Araujo and Lauren Brown. Today, our special guest is Tim Fielder. Tim is one of the premier visual Afro-Futurists working today. He's an author, an illustrator, an educator that has worked as a storyboard artist and visual development artist for games, film, and animation. So, welcome, Tim. Thank you very much for joining us. You've had a good couple years so far.
I have. So there's Lauren, Mia, and what's your name?
Oh, I'm Eric. Hi, how are you?
Right. Okay, I got it. See, come in. Anyway, yes.
I forgot to introduce myself.
Yes, you forgot to introduce yourself. I was like, what's that guy's name?
Like that guy in the corner.
Like, what's his name? Yes, I have had a pretty big last, really about 6 years, 5-6 years. That's finally reached. We're not even there yet, but we reached at least in the publishing vein. It's going quite well.
Yeah,
I had to knock on some wood.
Because when I say visual Afro-Futurist, for those that don't know, Afrofuturism is something that has is a relatively new term. It's kind of it addresses music, fine art, and literature, but there really hasn't been much as far as true like illustrative Black science fiction art.
Right.
As far as I can think of.
Well, here's what I would say. Afrofuturism as a practice has been around since Black people were in this country, certainly before, but because you can talk about any time where people of color saw themselves beyond, is that's Afrofuturist. So when Martin Delaney wrote his book, revolutionary book in the 1800s, Blake and the Huts of Africa, that was a speculative fiction story about Black escaped slaves participating in an imaginary revolution. So that was speculative. So when W.E.B. Du Bois wrote the comment about this white man and this Black man and this white woman kind of in this post-apocalyptic scenario, that was speculative, but we're talking about the 1920s.
Right.
So Black characters in speculative fiction has been around for a while, particularly in the prose venue. But it's one thing to say, oh, we're going to show, we're going to write Captain Kirk kisses Lieutenant Uhura passionately. It's a totally radical thing to actually show that. And we're talking about as recent as when I was born. Star Trek started in 66. I was born in 66. 66 was a good year, right? Black Panther, Silver Surfer, all that stuff happened in 1966, right? So to show Black characters that look like Lauren in a science fiction environment physically, right? There are plenty of characters. Nadia Corford does it. N.K. Jemisin does it. Octavia Butler built her career on that. Black women with distinctly Afrocentric features who have agency. That's a radical act to show that. Right? Right? Because outside of Lieutenant Uhura, you would not have a predominant Black female character in science fiction, probably till the Burnham character on Discovery. That's crazy to say. That's crazy.
I'm thinking Alien vs. Predator had
so not like
yeah, but I'm talking about okay, maybe
she survived to the end.
She did.
Everybody
she
died.
did. But even then, it's like, okay, but you're still talking about a jump from 1960 to 2003.
Right. Where there was no
maybe Jada Pinkett Smith's character. But that's what I'm saying. The main being a
main character.
That's not something that was fairly common for Black women.
Yeah.
Right.
Black men, we would be there, but they would kill us off, or they'd maim us. You know, Yafet Kodo, God rest his soul, just passed away a few days ago. And so I've said this before in interviews, and I always repeat it because it bears worth repeating. So he is trying to save this white woman, played brilliantly by Veronica Cartwright, who's freaking out because this alien is on top of her, about to kill her. So he runs to rescue her. He could get away, but no, he's going to do the right thing. And the alien doesn't just kill him normally, it snatches his heart out.
Jeez.
Right? And to see that, to see years prior, Night of the Living Dead, the brothers he's not involved in any dumb stuff. He's trying to help these people save themselves from this zombie apocalypse. But at the end, he gets away. And just as he's running from the house, they shoot him. So there's no escape. Ernie Hudson, Leviathan, he's almost to the surface, but he dies, right? That's our reality.
Right.
And things have changed, thank God. But it takes effort to bring that change. Doesn't happen naturally. That change happens by force. And that change happens because, I mean, hell, you know, because someone will actually sit up and paint the character, right? This is my mouse pad, by the way.
Yes.
I recognize that from somewhere. Yeah.
This guy, he's like balding like me, you know, it's weird, you know, but that's what I'm saying. It's when I say by force, someone has to be willing to sit down and force the image out. And that's hard, particularly when you grow up and you try to make a living in a space where it's like, I'll put it this way, Eric's doing something that I wasn't successful at. He doesn't know this. Eric is actually raising his children off of his art. Painting Black characters. That's something I could never do. I was never successful at doing that. Every time I tried to do it, I was thwarted. So when I worked for Marvel Comics and I did a fully painted Dr. Dre graphic novel, yeah, I was paid to do it, but the book never came out. It was never published, right? So to be a visual Afrofuturist is something that's only become safe to do over the last 3 years. When I say safe, I'm not talking about physically, I'm saying literally 3 years.
Right.
I'm not saying safe as in that you could be killed. I'm saying safe in that, well, because any Black person could be killed, person of color, you know, Latinos, as we see, Asian, you know, doesn't matter, you know. But just the normal activity of I paint characters that look like me, look like my kids. So my kids can see that, and I am good enough to actually derive a living from it, right? So this is what you're doing now, Lauren, right? That's what you're doing now, Mia. That's a radical act. You understand what I'm saying? So you guys have this podcast. Everybody is of color. And I think the other young sister, she's an Asian sister, right? Correct?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's a radical act. You're actually all of color, male and female, right? Who paint spaceships for a living. But
People
you
of color having
actually talk,
adventures.
but that's what I'm saying. You actually talk about it. If I'm not mistaken, that's why I was like, as soon as I saw it, I knew the book. I was like, Eric, can I be on your show, man? Do you mind if I could be on your show? Well, man, we'll see. You know, everybody's busy right now. Yeah, we'll see. But the book's about to come out, man. You know,
It was him who was busy. He was moving.
You know, everybody's moving. You know, but if I could just be on the show, and why was I doing that? Because the nature of this podcast is radical.
That's why
right? It's not safe.
So Tim, Tim is the author of a new book called Infinitum.
Yes. Wait, I want a copy. I want one too.
Absolutely beautiful. There's how many pages is this, Tim?
Ooh, I think it's about 280 something painted pages, but the front matter, back matter, like
280.
Hey man, don't show them the end of the story, man. What are you doing?
Sorry.
Jeez,
I didn't know like
man.
which way I was turning.
This
happens.
But yeah. So like it's like beautifully illustrated and written, and I love everything about it. And it's just it just makes me so happy.
Well, you know, it's real when you can kill somebody with it, right? Right?
Because
kill anybody with it.
Because you can kill somebody, it's heavy, right?
I mean, you throw it hard enough, you can
kill somebody with it. Pow, right? You're dead. That's when
wipe it off, put it back on the shelf.
That's when it's real.
Yeah.
That's when it's real.
It's a nasty paper cut. What? Anyway.
No paper cut. It's the heavy stock, the hardback, the hardcover. Pow! They're dead. They're dead.
Suddenly, I have a new goal in life is to publish a book that I can kill somebody with.
Hey man, let me tell you. This, see this here? Where is it? Let me grab one. Oh yeah, I'll do this. You can't kill nobody with that. No, nope. That's floppy.
You roll it up and bap somebody over the head.
Right. You can snap their hand away from some food that they were grabbing for it. Pow!
Think you're done, you got to write 100 more pages just for that extra weight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I mean. I mean that the book came out. It took about, I began working on Infinitum in the early 2000s. Actually, shortly after I met you, Eric. Most people don't know that I was Eric's instructor back at School of Visual Arts as he was learning 3D. He turned his back on all analog art, forsaking centuries of legacy to embrace the digital demon. I'm so proud of you. I've never been more proud of you in my life.
Take care of it. It's the truth. I didn't before Tim's class. I knew nothing about digital painting. I didn't own a Wacom tablet, or a copy of Photoshop, 3ds Max, any of that stuff. And Tim has been my mentor for the past, like 15 years or so.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're mentor. I don't think I'm your mentor. I think we are colleagues because we've you know, sometimes I think we will end up being other folks' mentors.
Yeah.
But I think we came up in a period, again, it's gotten safe for us over the last 3 years.
Right.
You know, right. Mia, you look kind of young to me. Lauren, you look like a baby. So both of y'all look like kitties. Are y'all in your 20s?
I'm 35, so.
Y'all in your 30s?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, y'all young, man. Get out of here with it.
We're still young.
Yeah, y'all young. It's like, I thought if y'all had to say y'all was in your 40s, I was like, okay, you're in the 30s, I'll get out of here with that. you can still go, you can still do all-nighters without it having like a damage here.
No, that is not a thing that I can do anymore.
I can't do it no more. That's why, I was like, I got a cup of Metamucil here from him, baby. Let me tell you. But sorry. So yeah, Infinitum was a story I did back in, I guess I came up with it in like 2004, because I had done tried to do stories for years. I started out as an editorial cartoonist in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, like 87. And I've always done Black characters in speculative fiction from the age of 12, 13. I'm 54 now.
Wow. I do want to ask though, doing Black characters since you were that young, obviously the culture has shifted dramatically from then to now. What was the reception of your stories?
Nope.
No?
The culture stayed the same till 2016. It was like, that's what happened.
Because one film made $1 billion, and then
but even before that, Civil Wars were
Civil War, and then Black Panther made $1 billion,
Yeah.
and then every single publisher was like, "What else y'all got? Who else is out there doing this?"
And we're just at the beginning of that conversation now.
Yeah.
We're just so Eric, outside of maybe Thomas Blackshear, maybe, is probably the most prominent Black fantasy cover artist going now. But nobody knows about all that, Blue Man Group work, where the digital work.
Nobody.
I mean, not like 5 years, like 10 years,
10 years.
15 years in the trenches. Nobody knows about that.
Nope.
And while still maintaining this somehow unreasonable and I think unhealthy fixation on Star Trek all at the same time.
Eric laughs because he's like, but me.
You know what I mean?
Unhealthy.
You can't call it. I knew Eric was going to feel a certain type of way about that.
He like Deep Space Nine, man. Anyway, he can't help it. He can't help it.
I can't help it.
But so that's what I'm saying. It's like things changed when that Dora Milaje walked out in that skin tight dress and stiletto pumps, and she walks up. I've said this before in interviews. I'll say it again. Walks up to Scarlett Johansson and says, "Move or be moved." And I broke out in tears in the middle of the theater. It was in St. Louis, Missouri, because that character looked just like or similar to a character I had done 35 years prior in 1988, where she was like built like Carla Dunlap, Black woman who was built. She was Miss Universe. The Miss Olympia, whatever. I think it's Miss Olympia. Sorry, didn't mean Miss Universe. And it was where I had a personal experience where I realized the ground not just shifted under my feet, it had finally caught up to what I was doing. And that was emotional to me because I have a career where I've been largely ignored in my work. I always did it, which didn't work out so great financially, but I always did it. I always found a way to inject some form of visual Afrofuturism in my work. I didn't even call myself a visual Afrofuturist till
It's pretty recent.
Yeah, 20, maybe 2015, 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that
But I knew that's what I was. We just called it Black sci-fi back in the day.
Right.
So the ones who pretty much had to run at the table were the prose Afrofuturists, because they've always gotten their work out. They finished their work. I didn't finish work for many, many years. I always had ideas. I mean, Eric knows about my project, Harbinger. I worked on it for 10 years, Black animated film, but I could never really get it done because the technology was good, but it was not to a point where you could easily do that project and raise kids at the same time. Now, any artist, whether they be a painter or an animator or a concept designer that is not integrating either the Unreal Engine or Unity into their workflow, they're behind the 8 ball. If you're smart. Like for me, I have to learn Unreal, right? Because I'm 54 and now my career's hit. It's hit. And so there's a demand for my work. Now there's a demand in the film and streaming space that's developing, but thank God I don't have to deal with that directly. There's another part of the group that I work with that handles that. All I do is just make sure that I stay alive and continue to develop my IPs. And I would say that because that's the other part that people don't see. It's like, okay, I did this book. The book damn near killed my arms, felt like they were about to fall off. The amount of work I was having to do at the heat of it when we started formally on the book in summer 2018, after I had self-published Maddie's Rocket, I put that together, and then I had to make a decision. Okay, are you going to stick with Maddie's Rocket, or are you going to do this other thing? Which, when I tried to do the version of Infinitum we have before us now, was done in 2016 for the New York Times. I was trying to do it for there, but they passed on the story, which had come up with 10 years prior. But then I loved it, and I had finished Maddie's Rocket. I said, okay, I'm going to do this. So I could have done it in black and white, but I did it fully painted, digital paint, a hybrid paint, I should say, because I do 3D, I do all that stuff and put it together. I do all of it badly, but when you put it all badly together, it kind of works. And I mean, because I'm not the best painter in the world. Eric knows that.
Nobody is. It's
I know that. And I'm gonna tell you what I learned. You me tell you what I learned. I'm gonna tell you the secret. This is when I realized what the trick was. I had hired Eric to work on my film, Harbinger. And for about 5 years, there was this cave scene in Harbinger, where there's this beautiful cave background. And I was just looking at this painting, and I was like, Eric, man, could you just show me how you're doing this? Because this painting is so beautiful, man. It's just, he was like, Tim, that's a photograph. I was like,
well, the textures were, I went outside and got a rock.
Photograph, man. And I learned. He learned me on that day. And he forced me to divorce myself from preconceived notions of technique and to move away from technique and to move towards end product. Because the audience doesn't care. The only people who care are your colleagues. Right. And your colleagues are simply trying to get the same work you are. And I learned a very, very valuable lesson. Now, I still a damn photograph in a second, man. So I got my iPhone, right? Why? Because 3D artists do this all the time. They get their textures from photos.
Oh yeah. So
they make procedural textures that mimic photos. Mm-hmm. So digital painting, as soon as you get rid of the chains of saying, oh, I have to do it like this, because that's the way Loomis did it, or that's the way Sargent did it, then you're free. And you do simply what works to get it done. As a hybrid artist, I do everything. So now Maddie's Rocket is the next book I'm doing. So I know that's one of the questions you guys had asked. And that's the next project that I'm doing, right? So I finished Infinitum, that's done. And the next project will be, Maddie's Rocket will be expanded into a trilogy.
So before we dive into that, I'm just curious. I want to go back to the experience of actually making Infinitum, because there's a lot of people out there, especially in the sci-fi fantasy illustration field, that self-publish. They go through Kickstarters and Indiegogos and all this stuff to try to raise funds for their art book or their graphic novel.
Right.
And you found a way to bypass all of that stuff and went direct to a publisher. So can you, because there's somebody out there that is seeing your work, maybe for the first time, and going, oh my God, this is what I want to do.
Right.
How did he make it happen? So did you pitch this before you started making the art, or like, how did you end up getting it to where it is right now?
Okay, all right. So I'll tell you as much as I can. One or two things I can't go into just because there's like internal corporate stuff that I have to leave out for the sake of you know, it's corporate secrets and NDAs and all that type of stuff. But and by the way, how dirty do you want me to get with this?
Oh,
To be uplifting
nasty.
or?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's up to you. You get to send.
as dirty as you want.
Well, I can keep it clean.
No, go for it. Go for it. Go for
I
it.
mean, I'm not making a joke. I'm serious.
No,
Go
seriously.
for
Yeah, I
it.
mean, we don't have 5-year-olds running around in the background.
All right.
Yeah, no, like yeah.
Put your kids away.
No. It's not. I'm not talking about vulgarity.
All right.
No.
I'm not talking about vulgarity.
All right,
I'm talking
well,
about the real. All right.
No, we want, please,
We want
please.
real.
All right.
I
All right.
don't want anybody to sugarcoat this, because this is real. This is real
Okay.
life.
Mhm.
And what I'm talking about here is applicable to any artist, any ethnicity, any gender, persuasion, doesn't care. That's all immaterial. But for the sake of this, I'm going to speak towards any futurist of color. What I did could not easily have been done 3 years ago, before that. To the level that I've done it. Look, I know what I did. I did a fully painted book. I called it a graphic novel, but really it's a hybrid mashup of a graphic novel, a picture book, and a storybook, all mashed together. That was done on purpose because I knew that I could not fully paint a book like that with 9 panels a page. I could have done it, but it would kill me. One, it would take 20 years to do. I'm not trying to do that, right? Not with the tool set I had at that time. Maybe it's possible as I integrate Unreal into my workflow, but which was what we'll find out with Maddie's Rocket. But prior to 3 years ago, the standard of the economic power of the communities of color was still not part of, it was not part of the updated data set. The idea was Black people don't see white science fiction. They don't care about that. That's not what they're interested in. Get Out came out and everybody went, whoa, what is that? And then a year later, Black Panther came out and everybody went, whoa, what is that? And so all these futurists who've been paid tons of money by these oligarchs were looking at them and like, yo, what's that? Y'all didn't tell us about that. I'm paying you money. How is it? I'm paying you money and y'all don't, what is that? And they're like, I don't know. Because they were never interested in future form depictions of people of color. That was never a thing. That was a thing to me. And I had lots of ramen noodles to show how much of a thing it was for me over the decades. But all of a sudden, it was a thing with economic power and they didn't understand it. They didn't know what it was. And they're still trying to find out. There are NGOs and governmental institutions that are having summits trying to figure out what is this thing and how did it develop without our input? What was it? What is it? So people like Bob Iger, smart, he knew, okay, this is the thing, we're gonna do this movie, right? I still don't know how he let that scene in there with Huey Newton and Malcolm X with the gun get in Black Panther. I think they slipped that in, but hey, I love to see it. It was awesome, right? Yeah. But so you're working in an environment that's now just hit that point. So Ryan Coogler did not invent Afrofuturism. What he did, he was the first visual artist to do it on a grand scale. That's what Black Panther represented. And as a result, it was the starting canon to the idea that Black speculative fiction, just like general white speculative fiction, are projects that, if they're well made, can have a massive impact. And any artist that's coming up now, whether they be young or not so young, needs to understand that that is what it is, but they must move quickly, right? 10 years from now won't exist the same scenario. You will begin to have bad Black science fiction movies. And I cannot wait for that time. Right? I want to see the Black equivalent of Sharknado. I'm waiting for it. I want to see, we're like, man, that was really bad, right? There's some Black characters in there, and it was just like, hey, look at it. Look how bad, gloriously bad it is, right? I want to see that. But right now, we're at a point where people, the multinational corporations are now picking they're picking their spots. The cultural institutions are now archiving. They're archiving. This is why someone like Ruth Carter can get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, because she has a body of work that it's not just her. It's a body of work that represents the history of Black costuming. That's why it's so important. So it's why my memoirs that I'm working on now, and I'm answering your question, Eric, don't worry, I'm not getting off track. My project, Black Metropolis, is the printing of all that 35 years of work in one book. That's why it's going to be 300 pages. Why? Because it was never cataloged. It was never collected into a finished form. So for those folks who want in, 3 things to remember. 1, no one cares if you finish. I'm so sorry. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody's gonna. Lauren, you seem like a really nice young lady. You seem like you're really talented. Did you do this image in the background then?
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
Thanks.
Nobody cares if you don't finish. They're not gonna lose an ounce of sleep. They're not going to miss a meal. In fact, they'll just find someone else to do it. So we're in a period now that if you want to be a part of this game, which is what it is, it's a system. You must have the ability to show and demonstrate that you can produce finished IP, right? It's the challenge Eric has now, right? Eric is associated with other authors because he can bring a visual to that IP, but he knows, right, that he's got to develop his own IP because that's where it's at. You understand? Mia, you're like, oh, Lord, I got to finish. Yes, Mia, you have to finish.
Mia.
You have to. Because why are you here if you're not finishing?
That's very true.
Now, if that's not your thing, and you want to be animator or concept designer number 554 in section A, then by all means go do that. Right? I could not cut it in that department. Trust me, I tried. I've worked in the studio system. I worked in the mid-tier system, and I was at points good. I was at points mediocre. But you know, right? You know what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes life gets in the way, and sometimes all kinds of other scenarios, money certainly, or lack thereof, gets in the way. But that comes back to nobody really cares about your problems. You must finish. You have an ethical and spiritual obligation to finish the work, to use the talent you have to complete a project and then get it out to the world. So I don't really care if someone uses Kickstarter. I don't really care if someone self-publishes their work. I don't care. Why? I did it. I sold my stuff on the street corners. I did. I get a little, my wife got me a little folding table. I put it in a cart and I'm on right now, well, with the time we lived on 139th, I'd roll it down to 125th Street on the Apollo And I'd sell when the people got off the tour bus. And I did that for several months. And I realized, wow, if I did this, I can make a living. Because all the other people on 125th Street did that. They sold art, they sold clothes, they did whatever they need to do. And I was selling comics and I was selling out, which was great until I couldn't make any more copies. Then it was really bad. But you have to understand what your lane is. So my lane, I like doing my own IPs. Whenever I move away from that, it's like I remember Eric used to work for Blue Man Group, and I wanted to work for Blue Man Group, but I couldn't get in, right? And I had multiple things like that would happen. I would try to get to work at a video game company, and I couldn't cut it, or I came close. And I remember our friend Danny Williams said, "Yeah, you were in the maybe pile." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Maybe pile is they might hire you." And I kind of defined myself by that for a while, because here I was in the comic book industry from 1987 to 99, 2000. And oh my God, I thought I was like the baddest mug on the planet. But then I moved into animation and I didn't have the skills down. I could still concept, and draw, but all of a sudden I wasn't the best. I was just like anybody else there. But I did learn the technical skills and went through all the stuff, personal issues. So all of a sudden I was learning how to animate. Horrible animator, horrible, but good concept designer. And just from what I brought from comics, still a good storyteller. So all of a sudden, when I go back to comics in 2013, after 15 years of being out, all those skills that I used to bitch about suddenly gave me a power to do my work. So answering the question further, learn your tools and don't get bogged down on the brand of the tool, right? Like I don't know Maya. And I used to weigh my importance of knowing Maya, but I don't know Maya, so I'm not, who cares? I've been using 3ds Max for almost 25 years. I can model. Nobody cares what software I use if you're generating your own IPs. Do you understand? They only care about the end product. Now, with regards to getting work to Kickstarter, Kickstarter is a firmly and robustly established utility to get your work out. People do it all the time. And I am all for Kickstarter, right? I invest into Kickstarters all the time now because there's some projects that I want to see, and if I like them, I'd invest in them. If I don't, I won't, right? But Kickstarter is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Or some kind of variant will exist. I'm still trying to figure out this new NFT thing. I don't know what that is, but I'm still trying to figure it out. But beyond the Kickstarter, you could, which is what I did. I've never did a Kickstarter. This book here was self-published by me. I literally got these books and printed them through Ingram, which is the large printer in the United States. And that worked great because that had me do enough work to where I actually leased a printer and I published this all in my studio, right? So, but you can't even buy this anymore because there was only a few copies made.
Yeah.
But corporate thing, that's new. So when how do you do that? Well, we'll have a better idea of it, say, in another 4 years. Right now, the first Afro-Futurist graphic novel ever produced in a graphic novel format is by John Jennings. John Jennings and Damian Duffy. That would be...
was it Black Comics?
I'm sorry?
Was it Black Comics?
No.
Wasn't that
No. I'm talking about graphic novel.
Oh, graphic novel. Okay.
Graphic novel would be this book here, Kindred.
Right.
But that's by Abrams, right? So Abrams is a mainstream company, and they did their thing. I'll just put this here for our way. So they did Kindred, they did Parable the Sower, which I think came out. Did Parable come out last year? May have come out last year. Then After the Rain came out in January, just before Infinitum. So, but of the big five, the big, the large multinational companies you have, Penguin Random House, you have Macmillan, you have Hachette, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Simon Schuster, which may get bought by Penguin Random House, but we'll see.
Right.
And you got HarperCollins. So that big five, meaning they're, HarperCollins been around for almost 200 years. And so Amistad, the imprint that I have my partnership with, was looking to make an entry into the graphic novel space because of Black Panther. And we kind of intersected into each other's path. It took months to negotiate a contract, but they wanted to do something big because I had finished a 200-page breakdown of the entire book in black and white with dialogue, everything. And then I had done 65 finished pages of it. Of the first 65 pages of the book is what I gave them, and they went for it. We thought they were going to take Maddie's Rocket, but they went for Infinitum first. And that was the combination of luck, timing, and finishing. So this book here, these books here led to this book. This book led to this book. So when you finish work, it's not just a physical product, you have to finish the work and then you have to release it, whether it be Kickstarter or whatever. When you finish the work activates the energy to generate opportunity. And because I've done this book, now the next book I'll do will be this book, but for a mainstream publisher, right? That is the way it normally works for regular authors. It has not traditionally worked that way for visual Afrofuturists. So what you're asking me to answer, Eric, is somewhat of a new question that I am still now trying to figure out what that means.
Right.
I can tell you that I'm terrified. Does that help?
I mean, it sounds like you had to show them exactly what they were going to get. They didn't just go off of a script and say, go paint or go do it. You didn't get that trust. Right. They needed to see it.
How do you get rid of the aliens? You got to nuke them from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Right.
You got to nuke them from orbit. You can't go in and kill them one at a time. You got to send a nuke down, blow it up, and okay, they dead. Right? You have to do that. If you're a filmmaker and you're trying to, in this climate where everybody and their mama is trying to get in, right? A spec script pilot is cool. It's cool. Writing the entire season is cooler. That's hard. It's hard. And nobody cares if you do it or not. Right? Nobody cares. So, Eric, you have a book that you need to do, right?
Yeah.
Now, I can sit here and try to use the Jedi mind trick. Talk about, man, your kids, man, your babies, man. Man, you got to do your baby. Man, you got a nice wife, man. You got a nice wife. She's very supportive. Trying to headlock you, trick you into finishing your book. But the problem is, if you don't finish it, your daughter and your son's still going to love you. And your wife's still going to love you, but are you going to love you?
No.
I'm serious.
No, yeah, I hear you.
You've been talking about this book since 2000, since at least the late 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Look, I love the covers you're doing. Shuri's awesome. And I know they pay you big money for it. That's great, right? But your baby's got to eat too.
Yeah, I know.
They deserve to eat, right? They deserve to eat. So I need Eric. Now I'm bumming, I'm blowing him up here on purpose, and he got to sit there and listen to it this time, and it's being recorded. He's like, damn, I should have brought him on this show.
Just calling him out.
You know what I mean? But don't do what I did, Eric. Come on, baby. They little, right?
Yeah.
Finish, because we need to see what you do. That story about those kids in that science fiction, we need it. Yeah, we can read about it, but that's what they do. You don't do that. You do visual narratives. I'm not talking about a graphic now. We're talking about picture books, man.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean that's the end goal. I'm not trying to do a Dinotopia or something like that, or like.
Dinotopia, not Dinotopia.
I'm not trying to knock Dinotopia. I just don't have that kind of time.
James, excuse me. No, I'm not going to allow you to say that. He is one of the greatest illustrators ever lived. Without him, without what he's done, the guys who did Ferris, Brian Froud, and all those guys, we wouldn't have what we have today.
So true.
So when Gregory Manches does what is Above the Timberline or whatever the name of that book is, that's because James Gurney kicked butt 20 years ago.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? It's because Sid Mead kicked butt 20 years ago. You know? Because Ron Cobb kicked butt 20 years ago, 50 years ago. Right? So we have the opportunity to do things that those guys did, but not everybody had that. Now we have the opportunity. So what I'm answering your question is, the opportunity exists that did not exist before.
Right.
And how do you get in? Finish your work quickly, do a bang up job. Don't just throw it together. Don't do that. Because then they'll buy it, but it's like, I'll put it this way. Infinitum has been extraordinarily successful, at least critically. I don't know if the book is sold or not. It might have sold 2 copies. I think it sold more than 2 copies. I think we can agree on that, right? But critically, I can't complain. I cannot complain. But the safety valve was that I knew if this book is going to come out, I'm doing a storyline about a Black man that can't die, that's problematic already, right?
A beautiful thing that is.
Well, yeah, but for some people, it's not, Lauren.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know what it means.
Some people, it's not, right? So that's a story, but I knew, and a librarian, Jessica is her name. She pointed out from Syosset Library. I was interviewed by a library about 2-3 days ago. And that's another thing I guess I'll add as well. But she was saying this storytelling, there are problems with it because it's difficult material. Well, how do you get past that? You got to give them an image that every time you lock them, like a meat hook. You understand? It's like Eric is not easy to please. He is not easy to please. Trust me, I know. I know. So he doesn't know, he partially knows it, but part of it was like, would Eric give this a pass? And if I got it just to that point, or close to it, I can live with it.
For your book, for you as you
Absolutely.
were doing each pages?
That was the only time where I was done, I was quitting, was right at the end. I was so tired, I was in so much pain. My brother was like, Tim, you gotta go. And I'm like, I don't care if it looks bad, I'm done. I don't want to do no more, right? He was like, but you gotta go back. And then I would sleep on it for about 3 weeks. And I was like, all right, all right, now it's done, right? But that was like the last 5 pages. I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to work on this book anymore. I'm done, right? Stop saying you're done. I'm done, right? But so So there's a standard, is what I'm saying. So Kadir Nelson can paint a book and the story could be complete garbage. The story. But Kadir Nelson, that mug paint, his stuff's so beautiful, man, that he could be painting garbage, literal garbage. But everybody like, oh my God, look at the way that rotten apple looks, is so incredible. The way light and the color refracts up, because his work is undeniable. His work is undeniable. The way he uses the reference with his work, there's a standard. Now, the beauty of it, if you put me in front of with some oil paint, I can't do that. I hadn't used oil paint in years. Why? Because I went digital back in the late 90s, right? And I have no intention of going back, and I don't care anymore about, oh man, you know, you should paint it oil. Nah, no, I'm not gonna paint it oil. I'm gonna continue to use Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint. I love it. Right? I'm continuing to use my computer screens and be full of myself going, well, look at I have a dual screen setup. And, you know, this one here, you know, I maxed it out on the RAM, but, you know, I think I'll be upgrading to the M1 Mac platform very soon, you know, just because it's more robust, right? So I can do that, right? But at the end of the day, it's still just tools. And the only thing anyone cares about is the finished product.
Yeah.
That's all they're gonna care about. You know, Billy Bob in Georgia doesn't care. Oh man, this is dope, right? They don't, man. He took this photo when he was trapped in a traffic jam on going towards Gulfport, Mississippi from Atlanta, and we were stuck in a traffic jam for 3 hours. I said, man, look at that sky. It's incredible. Took my camera out, took the panorama, stuck it right behind one of the images. Looks great.
Nice.
Awesome. You understand what I'm saying? So understand digital art is digital and it's hybrid art and is able to integrate any and everything, right? So the advice, finish your work. Nobody cares whether or not you finish your work. No one is going to touch you until you could physically demonstrate that you're able to produce and deliver to a market. Even, I'm not talking about, oh, you got to go out and sell 50,000 copies. You can sell 500 copies. They want to know, can you interface with the public? Are you insane? Right? Look, I'm insane, but like crazy insane, right? Can you talk? Can you interface with the public? Are you able to say, yo, how you doing? My name's Tim Fielder. I got this book here I did, right? I'm selling this book here for $20. It's about this character named Maddie Waddy. I've rehearsed that over and over and over again so I can just do it, right? Part of that comes from having taught for 35 years, right? Lectured, because teaching is what? What is teaching? It's entertainment, right? Yeah. You're telling a story. This is how you do 2 + 2, right? So you could say, oh, this is how you do 2 + 2. Oh, you can say, this is how you do 2 + 2, man. See, it's different. Same information, but it's all about delivery. Yeah. So that's important. You may not be that vocal, but you may dress a certain way. It's all presentation. It's show business. All of it is show business. Anyone that tells you, well, you know, that part isn't important, try going out there without a website where people can't access your work and tell us if show business is not important. Right? Of course it's important. Now, some people can be so technically brilliant that they can bypass a lot of other stuff. But let's be frank, not everybody's like that. I'm not like that. I'm not. As an illustrator, I'm great, but I'm not the best that's ever walked the planet. I'm not, you know, maybe when I was younger, I thought I was that good, but now, you know, life has a way of smacking you around. You know, oh my God, you know, then you learn, oh my God, oh, I'm pretty good. I'm not the best that's ever walked the earth. I'm pretty good. But what am I good at? Oh, I'm okay at all of these things. And when I put them together, that's what I'm good at. right?
It takes a long time for somebody to get to that point in their life when they realize that. There's a lot of people out there just tripping over themselves, trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I do that? And how do I put this portfolio together? What do I need to do? Instead of just thinking about what they love and what they know how to do best and making it cohesive.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, that was a long answer to your question. But you told me to keep it nasty, so I kept it nasty. And final thing on that. Everybody on this screen, we got some young folks here. We got not so young anymore folks here. I'm talking about you, Eric, and me. We all got a dirt bath coming, baby.
Yeah.
All of us, no exceptions. We're all gonna croak and wither and decay. And the phrase, I used to think it was true. It is not true. And I've said this before, but I keep saying it because it bears to be repeated. You can run out of time. People are like, oh, it's never too late. Nope, it can be too late. Cancer, God please, right? You know, MS, you just don't know. Car accident, meteorite, zombie apocalypse, pandemic, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So if you clearly have been given a talent that, you know, it's like, I think all four of us here, we good at what we do. Then why not? And trust me, I know I've been there. I went through that. You have to finish. Because one day you're gonna freaking die.
What do you leave behind?
Yeah.
That's the only way to do immortality, baby. Trust me. I think you know, some of you guys haven't read it yet, but I don't know if you read Infinitum yet, Eric. But I think we can say Infinitum is a pretty good story that's against immortality. It's a pretty good, you know, it dissuades people from wanting to do it. Like most people, I would love to live forever. No, you don't. 85 years, maybe 95, depending upon how I keep in shape, then I can check out. Right? Now, if there's a way where they can do the regeneration thing, I could probably do 150. Right? 150, even 200. But there's gonna come a point where it's like, yo, dude.
Seen it all, done it all.
I'm
Yeah.
tired.
Been there, I've seen too many people die, I've lived too much. I don't want to do this no more. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? Or I was in the city and the city was entirely wiped out and I saw all these people die. And
Well, then even something on a more of a personal level, because my grandmother was 100, 102.
Wow.
My great grandmother. And she, at the end, outlived her children, all her friends. Like, it doesn't even have to be anything dramatic. It could just be the social contacts you had in life are all gone.
It's something I said to my editor and I repeat it all the time and do it again because, you know, sometimes you repeat yourself, but it's like, I keep doing it because you have to say it so people will get it. We are not meant to live forever. That's what I said at the end of the book. We are meant to decay and die, providing sustenance to those who come after. So your work is your work, right? And since we're all visual storytellers, your work is your destiny. And if you do not fulfill it because you don't freaking finish, what a tragedy. I'm sorry, we ain't been talking about art, man. We've been talking about all this other stuff.
No,
y'all people are horrible as interviewers. We're supposed to be talking, Tim, when you're dealing with the digital, the strokes, what brushes are you using?
This is the stuff that matters, man. Like
I'm just joking.
We're all working on
guys
these
are
projects.
We just finished almost a 2-hour conversation about imposter syndrome and you know, how you feel about the creation of your art and stuff like that. So we're not getting into the technical, what apps are you using? This is that kind of podcast.
I felt imposter syndrome in this particular stage of my career for about 2 days.
How did you get past it?
I was on the Black Triples.
Okay.
And I said, because, you know, I'm aware that Infinitum is the first Afro-Futurist graphic novel from a big 5 company. It's the first one where it's everywhere. You know, you can buy it in Australia. It's everywhere. So they chose me to do that, which is scary because it's like, I've been doing this so long. And so the perception was no one will ever get into my work. And then they picked me, and then I went, why me? And Kennedy said, why not you? And I went, I like that. Why not?
It's got to be somebody. I mean,
gotta be somebody.
And they wouldn't have given you the opportunity if they didn't know what they were going to get. They knew that there was quality there. Yeah. They had to have. They didn't. Nobody
knew there was quality there for sure.
Nobody gambles like that on that stage, on that level, if they had any doubts.
Well, let's just put it to you this way. This is so early in the process that yes, they knew what they had. They knew something. And I've been told this by the publisher of HarperCollins. She was like, why'd you take the book? I asked her. She said, because there's nothing else out there like it. And the visual quality is just, you know. And I said, okay, that makes sense. But let's be frank, there's a certain level of risk to this. Yeah. Right? There's a risk to me personally and professionally. You said, well, how is that? Well, if Infinitum fails, who they gonna blame? Well, man, we put all this money into this visual Afro-Futurist thing, and we gave this guy this money, and this book did horrible. Who they gonna blame that on? Me. I don't need that kind of pressure, man. So what did I do? I made sure I called every reporter. I pitch. That's the other thing that you don't see. It's like a lot of the news reports, you know, reviews and stuff. I mean, Harper's definitely doing okay. Don't believe that they're doing all that. A lot of that is coming from me and my folks. Mm-hmm. You know, Black Girl Nerds today, great review. Just, I mean, I was like, man, I didn't pay them to say all this. You know, I didn't pay them anything. It was like, oh my God, right? But that was because I reached out to them. I reached out to them January. They kind of replied, but didn't follow up. I waited 2 months, a month and a half, and I was like, you know what? Let me circle back around again. Sometimes no doesn't mean no when it comes to that kind of stuff. It means not right now.
So in the middle of all this, the years that you've been working on this, mm-hmm. the stress, the anxiety, the hand cramps and the weight gain and all that's the arm cramps, all that stuff. You did a TED Talk.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
Which I just like when I saw that pop up in my Facebook feed. I'm like, Tim's doing a TED Talk. That is incredible. And just watching it and listening to you talk about your childhood and you know your interests and like just thinking about my own and however so many other children of color out there that had that same kind of upbringing, that same kind of love for drawing and comics and everything, but didn't see themselves represented. And to get to the point where you are now, where you get to paint, you're going to get to paint Black people in spaceships.
And girls in spaceships.
and have a blast doing it is so awesome to me. And you did a Microsoft commercial.
Oh yeah, that was
how did that come about?
Well, which one? The TED Talk or the Microsoft commercial?
Both. I'm fascinated.
Well, the TED Talk thing became visible because I did this here. They saw this. Mm-hmm. And they approached me because it wasn't like TED Maine. It was like one of the local TED Talks that they do, TEDx. And they approached me at the Mississippi Book Festival. And the lady came up to me and said, Tim, we love the work you do. You know, we represent the TED organization, and we wondered if you could, would you be interested in, and I said, stop. She said, what? I was like, you said TED? Yes. So that's how that happened, right? So part of it is in 2015, anyone could see some news reports of me being of talking. And you know, for me, I'm terrified every time I talk. Every time I'm terrified now.
What?
But
Can't
you
tell.
get used to it. You get used to it.
Yeah.
You're used to it. You get used to talking, and you get used to slowing down. Like the thing I've learned this time around in terms of interviews is stop saying constantly. Like, right. Yeah, right. Right. Because it's weird, you know? So I now have to slow down. So I'm learning, it's always learning. But with the TED Talk, that was a big one. That was, you know, I had my bow tie on. I had my tweed, you know, my tweed jacket. Was it tweed or was it corduroy jacket?
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I picked out the tie and everything. And then we flew to, what did we fly? We flew to New Orleans, rented a car. Well, no, we took my sister-in-law's car. We drove and I wrote up my list of all my points. We had a rehearsal the day before and I had everything laid out and I did my presentation. They said, this is wonderful, but you can't use any of what you've done. And I was like, well, why not? Right, because I had written up a script and everything. They said, well, you have all these photos, but you can't get clearance for them.
Oh.
So I was like, so I went back to the hotel and started at night. And the following morning, I had drawn pictures of all of the things that I drew a picture of Nichelle Nichols and the alien jumping out of Yafet Koto's chest and all that type of stuff. And it was more personal because I had drawn the pictures of it, right? So that was a big one because then it let people know, oh, okay, this guy does this work and he can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then Microsoft, they sought me out. Well, just like TED Talk, but one of my friends who, you know, works with this ad agency and they'll, you know, hey, they needed somebody who did something weird and different and who used their technology. And that's me. And I don't have any problem talking. And they, you know, my studio was like a hoarding, you know, like a hoarder lived here. But the great thing about it, I had to clean up my studio. That's why because I just clean all that up. But yeah, so that's how that happened. And that only happens because I did.
You finished.
This.
Finished.
Yeah.
Finish the work. Finish the work. When you finish the work and you talk about the work and you get the work out there, no, you know, it's embarrassing. It's totally humiliating. You know that, right? Y'all know that, right?
I have to finish. I got to finish first.
Finished.
But I'm saying when you finish it and you got to go out and talk about it and sell it, it's totally humiliating.
Why?
It's like Samuel Jackson says, when you're acting, it's really about making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
It's being vulnerable. Yeah.
Because when you put all that blood, sweat, and tears into something, you work so hard for it. Now you have to talk about it. You have to share it with other people and put yourself on that, just put a spot.
But that's when it becomes real. I don't understand why it would be humiliating. It becomes real. Like you should be proud and be like, yeah, I did this.
I never said I was proud.
Okay, but why would it be humiliating though?
It's because I have to sit there and perform in front of people, whether I want to or not. Dude, I want to go to bed, but y'all must like, Tim, we're on the interview. We can't get no time. We got to meet y'all at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, man, I'm 54 years old, man. I got to go to bed.
No.
But y'all younglings, y'all can stay up all times. And that's why I don't believe what you're saying, Lauren. Like, I can't do it all night. Like, yes, you can. You lying.
I can feel it if it happens, but a long time ago, I finished before, and I know what that feeling is like.
Yeah.
It took me a long time, comparatively not as long, but it still was, it took so much out of me once it was done and then having to discuss it. So I'm just like, I just want it to be done and move on to the next thing, but you can't just be done.
Nope.
It's not over. It doesn't end.
It's like social media though. That's what I hate about social media. It's like, here's my song and dance, and you feel like a salesman, and I honestly hate that. And I can see like other people's stuff, but not my own stuff. Like it's just really hard.
Mia, sell, baby. Sell. No, I'm serious.
No, I know you have to learn to do it. That's how you have to do it.
You have to do it.
Learn how to do it.
You must do it.
But it's
Facebook has done a tremendous disservice in so many ways to our society and our life.
Oh, yeah.
But you cannot reach people if you do not, if you are an artist or a entrepreneur who your work is dependent upon an audience, if you don't use Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or some combination.
Yeah.
Me, I don't use Instagram as much as I should. I have it. I occasionally post something up. For some reason, I don't find it that intuitive. Facebook, I use Facebook. I use Twitter. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I can compete, you know, to meet with people. I don't have 80,000 followers right now. You know, I have a little bit over 1,000. Hopefully that will change. But why do I want the followers? Do I want the followers because I want the followers? No. I got a book deal, right? I did okay. I won't go into numbers, you know, but now the thing they don't tell you is you have to sell the book.
Yep.
And you can't, these companies are, you know, this is not 1979. It's not 1985 where, oh, you got a book deal. We're going to put you on the red carpet. We're going to fly you. They ain't doing that. You have to physically go out and sell. You have to go. I have done between January, before January to now, I've probably done 40 events.
Wow.
And there will be 40 more easily. You have to have relationships. All those friends you know of that teach in schools, you better talk to them. Yo, hey, what's up? My book is out. When can I come to your class? Right? I want to present to your class. We can do it over Zoom. Okay, what day? Fine. We don't have any money. I don't care. Right? Oh, we can pay you just a few bucks. I don't care. Why? I'm trying to reach as many people as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Because the work was done. I'm good with the work. I stand by the work. Now I got to sell it. That's the other part. You know, Bobby Chew, who does schoolism, that he does the work, he sells the work. You understand? That's what it is. That's why. What's the guys who did? What's in that? The thing with the pig and the
Taco House.
Dice Tatsumi.
Yes, those two.
Yeah,
they were working for Pixar. It's awesome, but they had to leave.
Yeah,
because like you know. So they started their own place. Now they got to sell, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to sell.
Yep.
Marketing cannot be underestimated by any means when you're an artist at all.
And that's just so hard because we all get into this partially because we're introverts and we can just draw our feelings, right? We're little kids.
No.
The big lie is like, you have to learn to do this.
No, understand. When I was working on Infinitum, I was pretty much not present for about 2 years. I very rarely did social media posts. I would come out occasionally because the work wasn't done. And social media can blow up your schedule if you spend too much time on it.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's printed and it's in your hands leading up to the release, you better get out there and sell.
Yeah.
Not everybody's Stephen King. Most people are like me. You just got to go out and hustle.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be like a crack dealer. You got to sell. And nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about whether or not you got enough rest or enough sleep. I'm sorry, Eric. You told me you wanted it raw, so I'm giving you raw.
No, I appreciate it. No, that's good.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to be part of this movement that's happening, this Afro-Futurist movement, the reality is that we're in the early days of it. So the sooner you get in, the sooner you can make your mark. You wait too long, there are going to be people who come in before you to make that mark. Yeah. If you're a person who's been doing it as long as I have, if you don't finish anything and get it in front of someone, then they're going to overlook you and go to the next person. That's the reality. That's the way corporate reality works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got stuff brewing, but I mean, we all got stuff brewing.
It's just
about finishing it.
You better finish that work.
Yeah.
Because someone else coming along, trust me. And that's the thing I tell students. I still teach at New York Film Academy. And I was, talking with Randy Doughton, who's one of the brothers over there, who's over the screenwriting department. We were talking, I graduated finally into doing a career chat. And, I was just telling them the way it works. It's like, look, this work that we do, we have an ethical and a spiritual responsibility to do it. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's like, I'm forgetting my train of thought here, but and that's the other thing, the physical toll of doing this, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So I got my workout equipment. I've been doing my intermittent fasting, but I got to start on the weight training, the bike spinning, but it's rough out there. But if you're going to do it, you have to do it because, unfortunately for young artists coming into the industry now, this is a hard part to put to them, but I have to tell them honestly, they're the first generation to come into this industry where people who are over a certain age are no longer put out to pasture. So I'm 54, my career will be over in the old world. Oh, you're a 54-year-old guy. You're not gonna want to come work for EA. You're not gonna come work for Ubisoft. I mean, I worked for Ubisoft decades ago. I hated it, but I did, right? But I'm not 31 anymore. I'm 54. But now this thing has happened, not just Afrofuturism, but streaming and the ability to have digital technology and graphic novels, and which is the ascendant form in publishing. And what can I tell you guys? I'm not retiring, and nobody my age is going to retire. Why? Because I have the technical ability and life experience. You best believe some of my personal issues are in Infinitum and Maddie's Rocket.
Oh, yeah.
So I can embed that life detail that only comes from prolonged suffering and ramen noodles, and I can put that in my book only with spaceships. And people love that. So that means that young folks coming in have to continue to compete with me. Yeah. And I'm not alone. I'm just one dude, but I know what happens in the next 5 years. There's going to be plenty of us out there. Eric now realize, oh Lord, he's saying I got 2 years. Yeah, you got 2 years. Max.
A lot of time.
And that's for you too, Mia and Lawrence. Is for you guys too. So what you going to do?
Well, Mia's in the middle of it right now.
You better finish. You better hurry up.
She's gonna finish.
Yeah, she's heard every word you said because I can see it stirring in her head.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. We needed to hear this. Like, this is so good. And so many of us out, like our followers too, I know, are just needing to hear this. But I love also what you said, and it might be slight counterpoint to this. I don't know. I actually would want to ask you, but I love what you said about when you were manifesting your vision. You also had to be patient because at the time you couldn't. Basically you couldn't publish the stuff you wanted to publish, but you were making it anyway. And I know there's a lot of young artists right now where maybe they don't have the skills or they don't have the financial ability to do the thing, and they have to learn that patience as well, but they're still trying to manifest that vision. I just love that, and I feel like I'm butchering what you said, but anyway, I just...
Oh, you're not butchering. So you want me to comment on what you're saying? Is that it?
Well, just like, what advice would you give to the young artists maybe that are listening to that and thinking, man, I got to do it now, but I'm not quite ready for whatever reason that might be, or, they have to have that patience, I guess. But
two things. I wasn't ready. I'm still not ready. But nobody cares whether or not I'm ready. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the first thing. There's really 3 points. First thing is nobody cares. No one cares if you're ready. Mm-hmm. They have a fiduciary responsibility to make money, to produce content.
Yeah.
Don't worry about whether or not you can do it. Just take one page, one concept after the other until you are done. Right? How do you do that? By turning the volume down on the effect of the labor and just deal with the mechanical process, right, of getting it done. You can turn down, it's like Commander Data. Remember that scene out of Star Trek First Contact, Eric? Remember that? And Jada's like, Captain, I'm so overwhelmed. It's this feeling, I'm horrified. And Picard tells him, well, Commander, I would suggest you turn your emotion chip off. What he do?
Done. Yep.
Gotta learn how to turn the volume down on that.
Yeah.
I have negative thoughts all the time. You know, that like that whole imposter syndrome, he talking to me now. But he don't talk so loud because now I like feeling like I'm part of the team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is what, because he's like, you're not listening to me. Yep, nope, because I ain't got time for that, baby. I want that whoop. That feels better. When you find out that it feels better to get, it feels, the fear of failure and the fear of success is just a switching of degrees.
Yeah.
Fear of success is powerful. Fear of failure is even more powerful because fear of failure will keep you going. Also, this is going to sound terrible. Roxanne Gay says about nemesis, right? Everyone has a nemesis. Nemesis. Don't underestimate the power of a nemesis. Nemesis don't have to hate you. You don't have to hate them, but they're the person who drives you. I have about 3 nemesis. They'll never know who they are. Well, one nemesis just got replaced because I kind of hit that point now. I was like, all right, let me find a new nemesis, right? But a nemesis is someone like, man, that mug, they keep doing this work and I'm going to do that too. Right?
I think I've already told Bia and Lauren my nemesis.
Hey man, you stop telling people my business, man. Fuck you.
He did.
Yep.
He did. Did you really say that, Lauren? He did?
No, it wasn't.
Not his, not yours. His.
No, but me. It was like I was telling them.
Oh, you were telling them about my nemesis or your nemesis?
I was telling them about my nemesis.
Okay, I thought you were telling them about my nemesis, man.
No.
Spread my business around like that.
I wasn't out there dropping
like that.
But that's what I'm saying. Michael Jordan was a great basketball player. Why? Yeah, he trained, but he was uber competitive.
Yeah.
Not to the point to the way he could destroy someone else, but it made him. You got to have another gear. So now, I got new nemesis. There's something I need to prove to myself. Like, I did good with Maddie. I did good with Infinitum. I've done great with Infinitum. Now I want to know, okay, can I do these can I do this trilogy? And then can I do this big art book? Those are personal goals that I want to set for myself. Not so much that I have anything to prove, but it's like for Black Metropolis, when I say I need to publish all of that old work so it can get out, because it never got out. So this is me correcting something from the past. Once that's done, I can move on to the next thing.
That's one thing that I think it's good for, especially students or people just starting their careers to understand, is that this is not an easy path.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that work ethic. You've got to have that drive. And the key word I'm throughout this entire interview is perseverance.
Did I ever say perseverance?
You have not, but I'm throwing it in there.
Do you know why I didn't say perseverance?
Why?
I am the least persevering mug on the planet, man.
That's so not.
I gave up so many times. But you were there. Come on, Eric. You were there. I gave up all the time. There'd be times I'd do something and I would stop.
Yeah, but then you picked up and you kept it on going. That's the thing. If you just completely stopped, we wouldn't be here right now talking about it.
But I don't call that perseverance.
I would not have this in my hand.
I don't call that perseverance.
That is perseverance.
You know what I call it?
What do you call it?
I took frequent breaks.
Same thing.
There's a difference. Perseverance, right? All right, I persevered. Cool.
There you go.
But there was nothing noble about perseverance.
It'd have to be noble.
There's a lot of, there's just a lot of adversity that, you know, to be an artist, to try to pursue that path, I think that is noble to keep going.
Okay. All right. I persevered. All right.
As a black man in the United States, wanting to do sci-fi fantasy art with us in it,
I persevered,
and being told for decades, no, show us this with some white folks. Show us how good you can draw something else, but you can go do that in your own time. And then
or not do it at all, right?
Or not do it at all, because as you said, nobody cares, right? Right? But then to finally have the doors fly open for all of us.
I did persevere. All right, I get that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It feels like you might be reluctant too, because it probably didn't look much like persevering when you were in the middle of it.
It was the farthest thing from persevering. It was Golem from Lord of the Rings, man.
My precious.
But see, Tim, you don't understand, because from my point of view, you were that driving force that kept telling me, keep going, don't give up, work hard, finish. Remember, all the time, even though you had your ups and downs and, you know, personal struggles and all that stuff, you kept going. And I was going through stuff, I was going through stuff, and there were times where I was just like, paint that for what? Who's gonna buy it? Why should I do this?
Right. I cannot argue with what you're saying, because the empirical evidence right in front of me that I'm living on a daily basis suggests that somehow I did manage to persevere. Mm-hmm. I would just say there was nothing glamorous about it.
Right. There never is.
Yeah. It's never glamorous in the moment.
So you know what I mean? That's why when I said there's nothing noble about it, it was not like, I will persevere.
No. I don't think anybody uses the word persevere if it's like a smooth sailing event.
Yeah, it was not smooth sailing.
You know, if there's no adversity, if there's no challenge, then you're just living. It's just I'm just bouncing from one cool ass thing to another.
I could have done with a little bit less challenge, for sure. I could have done with a little bit less challenge. I'm saying is that there's a difference between work and labor. Mm-hmm. And the way that I have found to persevere, since clearly that's what I did, even I can't deny, I can sit here and argue with, but I was like, these books we need if I hadn't persevered. All right, I get it. But I would say that when I learned to turn down the volume on the whining from the labor, it's when things change. That was the only way I was able to finish. You got to really learn to turn the volume down on that voice. That's the volume of imposter syndrome, whining about labor. When you get used to it, it's like I never thought I would get used to not being on social media when I was working. But then when I hit I would force myself after a point, because I was blowing time. I was like, man, I spent 4 hours on social media and I got to get these pages done. These people just gave me this money. And, I can't this person stopped me. It's like, no, we paid you. You don't finish the work, that's on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I've butchered enough jobs on my own to know that I couldn't take another hit like that. So that's all I'm saying, is that, it is a life. I would say for young folks coming up, it should be a little bit easier for you because of what I did. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Trailblazer.
Hopefully the path is, which is why I've put as much time into this as I have, because I recognize there are people coming after me. Yeah. So my job, I don't know if I succeeded at all, but the attempt was certainly made for me to make it so that the industry could get used, right? So when I'm in the New York Times or I'm in a Microsoft commercial, it's like, nobody cares that you're tired. You make sure that you perform and you represent yourself and your community, your ethnicity, but the community of artists who really need me to kind of, because it's like, yeah, they call me a visual Afrofuturist, but I'm an actual digital artist who draws on a tablet. So I'm representing you guys, right? And y'all need me to act like I got some home training with Microsoft. That's really what that is. So I understand the responsibility, and I understand that I had to, that's my responsibility. It's not that different than teaching for years. You are trying to achieve a certain goal, but people need you to try, not that you're going to hit all the time, try to be your best self, because there are people coming after you, man. They need it.
Yeah. That's great. That's great advice.
It's amazing.
That's great advice. So I think we'll wrap it there.
Yeah.
Good. Because now I won't need to go to sleep, man.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible, man.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Gosh, like 40
y'all like, we're going to get this mug on here. We're going to run him ragged. He's going to be totally wasted tomorrow, man.
You left me with needing that now to really buckle down and make the thing and finish the thing. Yeah.
So I'll say this final thing. What you guys do is a very beautiful thing. Thank you. It's important. Continue to work, continue to stick with it, but always allow yourselves to have enough time to do your work, because the work adds credibility to what you do here. And what you do here adds credibility to the work. So it's the self-perpetuating, it's an engine, so continue to do it. Take breaks if you need to, but I think what you guys do is an important service. I don't know if you feel it right now, but it's really important because, I think you guys are the first kind of podcast type thing that interviewed me, digital artists who interviewed me as a digital artist. You guys might be the first who did that.
That's really cool.
Wow.
Which is freaky to me.
That's kind of crazy.
Freaking overdue.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, overdue.
Yeah, because it's normally the big guys, but y'all like interview me, and I'm like, I made it.
It was always on the agenda.
It was
from the very beginning.
Thank you so much.
The very beginning. So, yep. But thank you very much. I'm looking forward to diving into this. Infinitum, you can grab it anywhere. All right.
Amazon. You can buy from Walmart, which is insane.
Wow.
You can go to Target.
Cool.
Yeah, you can order that.
All right.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm really looking forward to diving into this, and it's beautiful art. It's great presentation. So
came out in the UK today.
In the UK. Oh, congratulations.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it came out of UK. You can't get it from UK Amazon because they're out of stock, but you can get it from Waterstones apparently.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Which is weird.
That's so cool.
That's really amazing.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah. Live long and prosper, peace and long life. Thank you very much.